Gondwana Records podcast.
Thank you for joining us on Gondwana Records podcast, where we sit down with our artists and discover their musical journey. I'm Mari, and today I'm in conversation with Hania Rani, pianist, composer, and singer from Poland. Her latest album is titled Ghost, and on the last episode, Hania talked us through how the story of Ghost started and the creative process around it.
I felt it's the right moment for me to sing more. I start with melody line, I sing something, with kind of imagined language, and then afterward I write lyrics. And especially when I started to write lyrics and I was just touching the topics I really want to talk about.
In this episode, we continue our conversation on Ghost and explore the album even deeper.
This album is all about this, and the sounds that we created there. They're also very kind of embracing weirdness, embracing being tiny bit, different from regular rhythms.
We have a Q&A session at the end of the show, so please stay tuned.
Sonically very different from the last two albums. I think these surprises are usually nice. Were there particular artists or songs that you were listening during this creative time?
A light for attracting attention, the smile, a light for attracting attention. So I really love this album. For those who don't know, it's like a band including Tom York and Johnny Greenwood, and somehow, but this album was really important for me. There was things that basically I would say Radiohead is since ever important band for me, especially when it comes to thinking about the form of the song, thinking about the sound, thinking about using your voice, because I would like to say that we have a lot in common with Tom York, but just even sometimes he uses his voice it's not clear, or maybe it's in the background, or maybe it's a process in a very certain way. And also they use they use a lot of piano as well, so there are many references that I can lean on, and this was definitely very, very strong inspiration. Later on, of course, you can find plenty of references in this album, but it's a bit later on, maybe when you're producing the album, then you think, actually it's you can really feel that something is very much connected or inspired, and there is definitely a spirit of my piano god, which is news from since ages, and I'm still part of his church somehow. But as well, early James Blake, I was back to his very early albums, and I was also kind of impressed how much he done. So kind of a classic inspirations, but also a lot when it comes just to bringing all of these, for example, string structures, or all these kind of ways how to process my voice or a piano. It's a long way. It's many listen albums, and many, especially when I was working on scores and just listening to a lot of very experimental music, music that has nothing to do with this kind of music that I'm now releasing. But I think I'm always trying to have a very broad inspirations and to listen to things that are very even far away, and then I can bring these little elements here and there, and at some point, maybe at this point when I was already working on this album, I had maybe kind of already my own way of doing things, definitely, yeah.
Side
So when I was listening and also reading your lyrics, a few words came to my mind, and I think you already answered some of that, which was what is ghost for you, what is death for you, but what is nighttime for you?
This is also important part because I'm extremely scared of darkness. But again, just because I'm so scared of it, I started to think why I'm so scared of it, and why I'm actually putting myself in all of these situations that I'm facing this darkness. I'm just, going somewhere in a remote, unknown place, in a huge abandoned building, and I'm just there alone. Why I'm doing this? Why I'm also doing all of these things? Because I have I'm probably very curious why I'm scared. And darkness, it's such topic that it's like really following me since years, because one of the most beautiful thing that I can imagine visually, it's a total darkness, like a deep, deep, deep darkness, and a tiny spark of light that is like changing totally your understanding of this darkness. And I think it's like it's very often visible in my pictures or whatever I'm just photographing, and I think it's also a core of my music, that even if it's very thick darkness, there is something very kind of sad or melancholic, but there is always like this little spark.
Beautiful. What is fire to you?
Oh, a very interesting question that you noticed this, because it's repeating a couple of times. I think fire, again, is like a thing that can be devastating, damaging things, burning, but also it's, again, a spark. So it can just change darkness to something more familiar and more safe. And there are a couple of moments, and I think it's also certain energy. Fire, for me, it's always kind of moving forward, and even if it's like devastating thing, like it's energy, so it's kind of action. So that's why it's very often repeated, and very often, what is also important for me when it comes to love, fire is like affection. It's like love full of life, love which is not just mild, or it's like full of things. And this is what just art allows us to even imagine this kind of things, because they're very surreal when you take a regular life and normal life, but you can somehow be dramatic with all these words.
Thank you. And how about, what is dream to you, connected to the nighttime?
Dreaming, very much starting point. I was quite fascinated by surrealist who was I even recently just was listening that there was a meeting of Dali and Sigmund Freud. And of course, Sigmund Freud wanted to analyze him. And then they started to talk about dreams, because Freud was so fascinated with dreams, and he was looking for some connections with our, I don't know, needs or, fears and stuff like this. But then for surrealists, it was like a perfect ground for their art. I also had a friend that he was really notating his dreams, and he was like really paying attention to his dreams. He was going to sleep certain time, and he was really training himself to dream in a most exciting way. And I also started to kind of observe my dreams. I'm not really crazy about it, but just sometimes you remember some dreams, and they're very often weird. They have like a weird little elements. It doesn't need I have very often, my dreams are very real, so they are set. I don't have extremely surrealistic dreams. Very often they are set in a regular moments. They are including people who are appearing in my life, but there is like element which is weird. Maybe something is bigger than it's normally, or you have like something is continuously happening, or something's not ending. And I also thought, I would just use it, why not? And it's like this hype real kind of shaping reality is very fascinating for me. And just this year I started to watch movies by Studio Ghibli as well. And it was for me as well, I felt almost familiar there, because I thought, oh, this is a word that I really know, because this is something that I think I'm already kind of investigating since some years. So dreams are important, and the weirdest parts I'm very often just trying to use and in my own works.
Gondwana Records podcast.
Let's talk about music videos. How was the working process making this album, visualizing this album?
Well, there are probably also different angles because some of the things happened a little bit earlier than the album, which is, I'm thinking about Hello, which is a very energetic and very, I would say, jolly video. It's shot in the beautiful Alps in France. It's summertime in full bloom. So that's why also we decided to tiny bit detached it from the whole announcing plan of the album. And once I started to also just thinking how I really want to express it visually, I just wanted to have some kind of weirdness. This was kind of a common point and common like a thought for all of these, and just allowing myself to think, just to allow things that are not regular, they're a little bit weird. And also this album is all about this, and the sounds that we created there, they're also like very kind of embracing weirdness, embracing being tiny bit different from regular rhythm. So I really wanted to bring this kind of thing, to bring this a little bit surrealistic feeling, a bit of maybe even feeling sometimes anxious. I even think about my album artwork, it's a photo my friend Rain took during the night. It was like total thick night in the mountains, which is like, there is no light pollution there, and we had like this one lamp, and we were just lighting this spot. There was like there's a hill with a beautiful grasses during the summer, and in this photo I'm also there. I mean, he took a photo of me sitting on the rock, but then afterwards, a couple of months later, I was just going through the photos, and I just cropped this photo, and I just frame it and to see just the grass and the void. And I thought, this is it. It almost feel like somebody was just there, That's why I thought, this isn't, this is my album artwork. This is just the ghost. And then you have this very simple sign, ghosts. And once you open the album, you can see me inside. But I think there is something about it that I thought, this is just a feeling. You don't know what's behind, what happened before, what will happen next. Maybe somebody will appear, in a second. So, I just allowed myself just to, embrace all of these things that maybe sometimes are a bit spooky and, or maybe at least a bit surrealistic.
Let's talk about the music video of Dancing with Ghosts. It's by the woman director, right?
Yes. First of all, I engaged two women directors. For the first time I was working with women directors, which is a very different experience. They're twins, Sarah and Nadia. And also I was for the first time so much involved also in concept. And also they allowed me to be on set and also just to co-direct with them, which was a very different feeling and an amazing feeling. And with this video we wanted to express, basically, of course we had to have a dance there because it's dancing with ghosts, so it's kind of an obvious thing. It's basically the song is telling a story about dancing. But I thought I would love to do it also a little bit differently from what I have done before. I want to do it in a city. I want to bring a big city vibe, which is for me sometimes very harsh, and there is some kind of anonymous feeling, like everyone is a bit similar, people are moving, nobody's really observing each other because it doesn't matter really. So and Sarah and Nadia are based in Paris, so we thought it's great. We are considering London and Paris because I think they're like the biggest cities in Europe that have like this also kind of sometimes uncomfortable feeling, especially when you're commuting somewhere and there's so many people. And then these dancers, James and Melina. James is based in London and Melina is based in France, and we worked already together on a video for F major in Iceland. But now she looks totally differently because she totally cut her hair. And but basically what I thought that this dance can be kind of a symbol of, it goes in a way that people who are a little bit irregular, who are a little bit, trying to break something very automated. They are just, even with these movements, what they are allowing themselves, embracing with movement, they are embracing some kind of weirdness, they are embracing emotion, they are embracing things that usually people want to suppress a bit, that you don't need to say too loud, you should not say, too much I love you, or just express yourself. People want everything to be a bit like on air. I mean, not people, but maybe like kind of society or capitalistic kind of thinking wants us to be average and just polite and stuff like this. And with their movements, which are also very specifically choreographed, I have a feeling we wanted to bring this kind of feeling that like the individual against the city, individual against the mass, individual against mass thinking, and something extremely fragile, something extremely sensitive, something extremely intimate as well. Because when you embrace this kind of movements, you embrace kind of feelings, you also usually you're embracing also something extremely intimate and something extremely personal. And also we decided to film it on film, which brought this kind of old school vibe. We did a couple of decisions that I think were very important for the result, and I hope that you can really feel this energy, and you can feel the smoothness of this song and this feeling, and also the weirdness of it. And so I'm extremely happy. I think all of these little decisions where the result is really kind of a little bit different from what I have done before.
Gondwana Records podcast.
When I read the lyrics of Thin Line, I was super amused. Could you please tell me a little bit about the Thin Line, please?
This is the weird one, and everything started because I just remember, it's basically, the whole song started for me when I took Duncan's beat. He just sent over me kind of a little loop, and I loved it so much. In the beginning, we thought it would be a part of Hello, but somehow it didn't work out, was not really fitting. And then I thought, I don't really want to lose it. It would be such a pity. Let's just compose a new song on top of that. And once I had this bass, I had this like little kind of, it's also based on it. It's really easy if you really watch the structure of the song. It's just a couple of instruments, a little bit in a different tuning, which made this gave this, I think, kind of a nice touch. And then I started just to improvise with my voice, and I thought it's almost like saying something in a very automated robotic way, which doesn't make sense but also makes a lot of sense. So I was just basically, I need to explain because the song have two parts. So I started with this kind of vibe, and I thought, what does it mean to me? Why am I even doing it? And why these kind of words are appearing, And why? And I thought it's just basically, I was just trying how weird it is that we are just being born. We have no experience in living. We need to survive. And then we just vanish. It's like so weird. And just we have, and I tried to think about that, maybe this kind of automated things in our life, or maybe this kind of lack of experience allows us as well to die one day. Because if we would be so experienced, and if we knew everything about living, if we would be living so consciously all the time, probably it would be so difficult to vanish at some point. So that's why there is like this vibe of like repeating and just things that make sense and doesn't make any sense. And there is the middle part, which is basically a moment of vanishing, and it's like what's happening there. And I'm even including there like a little quote which I really like, is why the sound of death has a shape of life, which is a little bit, it's also based a lot in kind of belief, even religious belief, that there is something, out there, and which is probably very much connected to my identity, the country that I come from, or any kind of research I did about, I don't know, Buddhist and religion and stuff like this. So that just made me think, what is like this thin line between life and death? What is this? It's like there is something, there is nothing. And I try to investigate this moment and just try to imagine, which is the most probably weird thing that I've done in my life. And then performing this live as well. So this song is totally experiment. It's very surrealistic. It's very, very surrealistic. And first part, very much kind of automated, kind of like with, being almost blind, just following things that somebody told us, like working on a pattern, just repeating. And then there is a moment of totally opening up, just almost a scream. I remember it's a little bit differently processed maybe in recording, but I was really allowing myself to almost sing it in a theatrical way. Even if I say it loud right now, I think like it's such a clash with my regular style. But you needed this, I was just really curious what will happen, because when you're speaking about these kind of things, and you cannot just sing it like, like whatever.
Don't break my heart with truth. We can defy, don't you see how it's good? Don't break my heart with truth. True is unkind, and I'm telling you.
What are you most proud of by having this album complete?
I'm extremely happy, and it needs to be mentioned here. I was extremely happy to have such a wonderful mixing experience, because I mixed it with Greg Freeman, and it was a new person on board. He works still a lot with, especially with Portico Quartet. And it was such a beautiful process for me, because we spent all of this time mixing together. He said, Hania, I want you in my studio. Because usually I'm used to that mixing engineer is just, mixing on their own. And then he's sending or showing me the mixes, and I have some comments, and this is how it works. But he said, no, I really love to work with artists. I want you to be in my studio. So I really took these 2 weeks, and we were just spending whole days in the studio and just mixing it. Of course, I was definitely kind of directing it, and just because I produced myself the album, so I know what is there. But he's such an amazing person to mix with, and he came with such a beautiful, amazing solutions. But it was also amazing, a huge part of the way how he's working is analog. He's really working with tapes and tape delays, and everything he's doing really handmade. It's not like plugins. So, it also takes time, and the tape can be broken or not work. And I really think he contributed to this album so much, and he basically managed to put all of these very different songs together, because there is even a solo piano track there at some point. But also, he just, we put it through the tape. We actually pitch it up a bit, and that's why there are like little things here and there, and so much work of Greg. So I'm extremely happy, and I'm really grateful because it's really he gave all his heart.
Gondwana Records podcast.
We're gonna move on to the Q&A part. Shall we do a fun question?
Yeah.
It is from Vittorio. And hello, Hania. Big fan from Italy, right here. What would be your dream location to have a concert in the future, maybe? It could be anywhere.
Well, yesterday I thought I would love to perform in Tate Modern, this space which used to be, it's like this concrete space. It almost looks like a caves or something like this. This it's not like the Turbine Hall is the main hall where all the installations are going on, but I am talking about this space. There is a free entrance there, and very often they are doing something with sound, and oh my god, I love this space. It moves my imagination so much. So this is number one.
Okay, can you listen to it? Tate people. Okay. The next question is from Phantom Location. What do you do in crisis of inspiration? A total stuck.
I don't fight it. I just leave it, and I'm not trying to do something. I try to do a lot of other things. So like I try, for example, because it happens, obviously, it's a normal thing, and I'm trying just to move myself in a very different kind of areas. So this is not just to stop to do anything at all, but just I'm not fighting this moment, definitely.
Great answer. Thank you so much. The next question comes from William, big fan from Quebec, Canada. Hi Hania, in your first album, your approach to the piano really brings out the percussive elements of the instrument. Why did you choose to expand your solo approach to a more band form?
Well, I think, it's just basically, again, a curiosity. And sometimes I'm just also curious if I can compose for other instruments, if this music can also expand a bit. I'm definitely not leaving the piano, and I think even the very recently released soundtrack on Giacometti is the greatest example which is mostly created on keyboard instruments and performed just by one person. But I'm also extremely interested to compose for other instruments, and sometimes even not being a performer, which happens very often when I'm scoring, and then I compose just for other instruments, and I'm not touching any instrument. So it's something that basically interests me as well, and I would love to be able to do it.
Thank you. Here is a curious person writing to you. Her name is Idaliner. Hi Hania, I'm curious in your use of electronics in your music, live and also in your composing process. What was your way into using, and how much are you controlling on stage versus sound technician? And what is your best advice when it comes to learning and exploring electronic devices together with acoustic sounds?
I think, I'm also feeling I'm a beginner still. Also, I don't own a big collection of synths or anything. And also, it's, I think, affected because it's affected by my education. Because once I have an instrument, I feel like, there's like limitless possibilities. So I just will die. And I still feel my profit is never-ending story. You're going to create so many sounds. So I know that there are people who collect a lot, but I somehow really like to focus and just use the same instrument and just with just this one tool come up with other sound. But I think the best answer is just to try it out. Don't be afraid that you don't know something. I think many people have less knowledge than they seem. And another answer is that I think electronic instruments fit perfectly with acoustic instruments. That's why actually I started, because I thought, that sometimes you miss, I don't know, especially bass, or you miss some kind of especially when it comes to recording process, it's sometimes difficult with acoustic instruments to get them through, and with synth instrument or with any kind of digital instrument it's a little bit easier. So I think they can actually complete each other, they can support each other, and you can beautifully just mix these two sounds and come with something very new, which is I think always the most important. And I also always somehow imagine in my head just that, for example, if Mozart would be living right now, I'm really sure that he would be just a producer and he would be surrounded with crazy amount of synths, and he would not really pay attention to any pianos or anything like this. No, I'm just joking, but because my big part of my work is not even working with synthesizers, but I think with processing acoustic sounds. This is right now kind of the core of my working process, and I think it's so just crazy interesting to see what will happen. You have like these little samples, and then you can just make it extremely long or make it extremely slow or very fast, or maybe pitch it or whatever, add some effects, and this is just wonderful. It's just, for me, it's like, it's so exciting, and I'm never thinking, I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Thank you so much. There are so many more curious questions, but because of the time, we're gonna finish here. But thank you so much, and congratulations with the incredible Ghost album.
Thank you so much.
Gondwana Records podcast.
I hope you enjoyed the last 4 episodes with Hania Rani. Make sure to check out our episode with Matthew Halsall if you haven't. You will find out how Gondwana Records was born as well as the artistry behind his latest album, An Ever-Changing View. For more information about us, please visit our website gondwanarecords.com. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for more coming episodes.